What's going on, everybody? Thumbs up if you can see me and hear me. What's up, Peter Wood? How are you, sir? What's up, Mark? What's up, Sergio? We got Mary in the house, Susan. We got the lovely Petya here, who's already inside the club. She's already making that mad money. We got Robert Holder, always looking good in those shades. What's up, sir? We got Dexter in the house. Good Key, nice to see you. Armand's nice to see you. And there's some other people here like John Thomas and Ken and Rami who are being really disrespectful, Martini, not turning their cameras on. As the Godfather once said, what did I do to make you disrespect me like this, you know? And then he broke their legs. So I won't break your legs, but I am going to throw you out of this call in about 60 seconds. Welcome, everybody. We're going to go deep tonight on one of the more scary developments going out there in artificial intelligence. And this is the brand new WorldCoin. How many people know about this coin and the fact that they're scanning your eyes in order to get it to you in the future? This is brought to you by Sam Altman, who created OpenAI. And there's a lot of weird theories out there, and we're going to try to go through them and try to understand what's happening. But the underlying message I want to get to all of you is the fact that they're already launching this WorldCoin, the fact that they've actually scanned 2 million people's eyes through this silver orb. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. It's straight out of Hollywood or Silicon Valley. They're both in California, where all the weirdos come from, including me and Petya. And so, you know, that's what you would expect. But the underlying message here is a dangerous one. And that is this: with AI coming, and it's coming very fast, there's going to be a massive dislocation of society, massive job losses. And people are already talking about universal basic income, which means the government gives you a check for doing nothing. Now, that's their way of redistributing wealth. And the whole idea behind WorldCoin, at least the idea they're selling us, is that you have to be unique. So, Mary Donald, I know it's you getting your coins and not the 10 bots that act like you. Or same with you, Peter Wood. I know you're getting your UBI, and that way you can't fake it and try to game the system. Does that make sense to everybody here, right? Now, I personally am not a fan of universal basic income because I think it makes you a slave to the state. Does anybody else agree with me here? Right? You know, honestly, just like welfare does. And if you've had guests like me before, like Robert Kiyosaki on the show, he believes a salary is actually worse than a drug habit, because when you get a salary, you expect something every single month, and you stop creating wealth. You just start expecting wealth, and it actually puts you in this slave mentality, and it actually shuts down your brain. How many people know what I'm talking about here? Maybe you agree, maybe you don't, but at least you understand the concept. Okay, good. So for me, it's like a salary is a bad thing. I think the next thing is probably a welfare state, then universal basic income, because this is what happens. A lot of people say, especially the younger kids out there, like my daughter who's 19, yeah, why can't I just get a check every month for $3,000, and that way I can just do my thing and I can just create in my spare time? And I'm like, okay, that sounds like a good idea, but wait until they start asking you to do things, right? Tell you what, to get your check this week in a fast way, we need you to stop by the clinic and get whatever they tell you to get, right? We need you to maybe not say those things that you put on your Twitter account. Or if you do, we're going to have to just check on that. And then when you're going to vote, we're going to want this, and then we're going to want this, and we're going to want that. And by the way, we got these new 15-minute cities. And if you promise not to move outside of a 1-mile radius, then guess what? You're going to get your check. And if not, we're going to just have to take a little bit away from it. Does everyone see where this is going? Right? And pretty soon you wake up one day and it's like, oh my gosh, this is all happened. And I believe it starts with them taking away your ability to earn an income, because that ultimately is your freedom. So I want to talk about this today. If you're not up the curve on WorldCoin, I got a couple videos and I'll bring you up the curve. Then I'll also show you what we've learned about artificial intelligence over the last 8 months, where we've done a deep dive with the greatest experts in the world. I also just had Peter Diamandis on Friday, who is an expert in artificial intelligence, and I will tell you what he said as well. And then lastly, this is the good part, I'll show you how we are investing right now so we can create massive amounts of wealth before the AI takeover. I personally think this is our last chance. I think if you're waiting around for 20 years to make money on your real estate or your S&P 500 or your pension fund, I think you're going to come to a rude awakening. Also, when we invest in AI, guess what we do? We get to control the future of AI. Does that make sense to everybody here? Yeah. So that's what I'm going to talk about. All right, John Thomas, you were warned, buddy. I'm sure you're a nice person, but you are gone, right? Well, and let me ask everybody else. And what about Rosalind? What do we think? Give me thumbs up or thumbs down. Should Rosalind stay or go? Go. I love Peter Wood. Go, Armands. This is good, like the Roman Colosseum. They're like, look, if I put my camera on, she's got to go. All right, Rosalind, you're out as well. All right, Martini, chuck anybody else out who hasn't done it. By the way, I appreciate everybody with cameras on. Agar's, nice to see you. KC, nice to see you as well. Thank you. Armand's good to see you. Dexter, nice to see you as well. Dexter seems to be enjoying the Roman Colosseum angle a little too much there. But it's all good. Well, nobody died. And I'm going to share this presentation. Is everybody ready? All right, strap on your seatbelt, folks. This is going to get a little crazy. All right, here we go. Just cooked this thing up this morning. Booyah. Can everybody see this weird silver orb here? Thumbs up if you can. And can you see Mr. Sam Altman there? So by the way, on the left is Sam Altman. Sam is worth hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. People don't realize Sam actually does not get a salary from OpenAI, and he owns none of the company. He's so rich that he does it for fun. Now, some people say he's going to get rich on WorldCoin, and you're going to need WorldCoin if his AI company is successful. But I don't engage in conspiracy theories. I leave that to my guests on London Real. I'm going to tell you the real stuff of what's happening here. And here's the news. His AI busting crypto token, WorldCoin, has now gone live. And they've spent the last 3 years working on this. And I'm going to show you the concept. I'm going to show you what they do. But like this big silver thing, it's not made up. It's the real thing. And it sits there with no buttons on it. And what it does is it scans your iris, which is unique. This is like total science fiction, right? And then once it scans you, it knows that it's you. And once you get scanned, it gives you one WorldCoin every single week, right? So as soon as it takes your identity, which it promises that it doesn't store, by the way, says it erases it right away, unless you opt in and you want it to. And then it gives you a code and you get on your app and you start accruing WorldCoins. And the idea is they're trying to kind of get individual identities, maybe for everyone in the world, with the promise that that might be able to pay you when the AIs take over and take over everything. So we're going to talk about this. I'm also going to show you how to profit from AI investing now. We're about to write $1 million check into what we believe is going to be the OpenAI killer. We think that this company has a better shot of getting not just AI, but a term called artificial general intelligence, which means human level intelligence. So I'll go through all that today. If something doesn't make sense, don't worry. You can hit me up in the chat with some questions and I'll answer them all at the end. All right. Before we get started, I just want to say that none of this is investment advice. This is just for informational purposes. If you do seek investment advice, go find a professional to do that. Good? Is that good for everybody? All right. Let's jump in here. So this is this device. I'm saying you can't make this stuff up, right, Peter? I mean, are you kidding me? You got to look in this thing. These are people using this. And again, 2 million people have already scanned their eyes. 2 million, okay? And so OpenAI Sam Altman wants to convince billions of people to scan their eyes to prove that you're not a bot, to prove you're real. And this is his crypto project he's working on in the background. Now, don't ask me how these Silicon Valley people have the time to work on 6 projects at once. I know I can't, but they all seem to be always doing multiple things, like Elon as well. So this is happening. This is real. The coin has launched. It's now getting priced as we speak. It's got a market cap of a couple $100 million. But if you issued all the coins, it's got a market cap of like 10 billion. So it's potentially already massively successful. The untold story, this reporter went in and got scanned. He flew to Berlin. They've got offices in California and Berlin. And he got his eyes scanned. And I'll share with you some of the insights that happened there. And of course, Vitalik Buterin, who's the founder of Ethereum, the world's second most important cryptocurrency, wrote a blog post yesterday questioning this whole proof of personhood system. And he also asked about those orbs. And he said, well, how do we know those things can't get hacked? How do we know that those things are actually doing what they say they're going to do? There's a lot of questions. And again, WorldCoin had a lot of questions in the past and how they actually got the data. They went to some third world countries and they didn't know if they were twisting people's arms to get their eyeballs rigged. A lot of questions around this. And look, I just want to show you that this is happening. and talk about the AI implications on the back of it. So again, right here in Britain today, they just came out, the UK data watchdog, and they're already asking, do you have the right to not only harvest this data, but store this data? Because, in Europe, we're really picky about our data and our GDPR and that kind of thing. So literally a day after they launch, we've also already got regulators checking to see if this is legit. But here's some excerpts from the article. And again, this is some of the things that Sam is saying about this. He says, look, people will be supercharged by AI, which will have massive economic implications, right? It's going to do more and more of the work that people now do. And I'll show you some articles later. We're expecting initially 300 million jobs replaced by AI. That's a lot, folks. That's almost the entire population of America. That's probably twice the working population of America. That's probably 1/10 or maybe 1/12 of the global working population. You take that many workers out, you've got problems. You've got mass unemployment. You've got benefits skyrocketing. You've got riots. You've got people that want answers, people that don't have any money. Meanwhile, the rich are getting richer on the back of this. So Altman, he's got a compound, Martini. He's got one of those like bunkers out in the valley somewhere that's like survives like a nuclear holocaust and the zombie apocalypse. Yeah. It's got like food and water for a year. I mean, I love how these guys roll. So let me continue in this article. He believes that UBI can help to combat income inequality. Since only real people can have world IDs, it could be used to reduce fraud when deploying UBI. So a lot of people are saying, look, Sam, you are providing the problem, which is AI, and the solution, which is WorldCoin. And you're not getting paid on OpenAI, apparently, but on WorldCoin, you're potentially making all this money and then having all this control in the future. Now, whether that's fair or not, I'll leave you to be the judge, but I wanted to play for you a couple of videos that talk a little bit about this project. And again, the reason I think it's really important to talk about is not as much for the WorldCoin, it's more to understand how AI is coming right down the pipe here. And we really need to pay attention to what's happening. So let me just pull these up really quick here. Yeah, okay. All right, these are hot off the presses as well. Yeah, so this is a little bit more about what WorldCoin is. Take a look at this.
Have you heard about WorldCoin? It's the new cryptocurrency that's revolutionizing the blockchain market. The project uses blockchain to create a large digital identity network that can be used in all web applications, metaverso, and even government services. WorldCoin comes with an innovative solution that uses iris scanning with a device called ORB to create a unique digital identification for each user. The cryptocurrency token is not available for purchase, but you can get it for free by downloading the app and doing WorldCoin's tasks. In addition, WorldCoin has adopted security strategies, including zero-knowledge proof mechanisms, ZKPs, to ensure maximum protection of users' privacy. Almost 1.2 million people have already registered their iris biometrics using the orb and are awaiting their tokens. Govers, follow us and subscribe.
All right, so that's the background on the project. Now, I want you to tell me what you think when Sam Altman's talking about it, along with his founder as well. And I just want you to give me your honest opinions about what you think here about, this is Sam Altman and Alex Blania, which has been his CEO for the last 3 years. Here's what they're saying.
This will be the greatest technological boom, productivity boom, economic boom, whatever you want to call it. This will be the greatest one since the internet.
So you have AGI coming relatively soon. How can you scale an economic network that actually connects billions of people?
I think there's a lot of things that one can imagine if something like WorldCoin works.
So you have WorldCoin, World ID, and then there's like a sort of thing that's the World app.
Think about governance, how we're going to differentiate between what is done by people and what is generated by machines.
How can you prove that you're a unique human being? That's just the only task.
Society will have to figure out more as we go along and as we start to integrate these systems into our lives. But if something like WorldCoin can work, I think that's a quite interesting new tool to have for humanity.
What do we think? We want Altman controlling our eyeballs in the future? Raise your hand if you do. Petya is not a fan. Anybody else? No? Okay. Robert, not so much either. You got to be a little careful with these folks. All right. So again, AGI, you've heard that term a couple times now. Raise your hand if you know what that term is or you've heard it before, AGI. Okay, a few here. Of course, Petya has, and Casey. It means artificial general intelligence. Now, how many people here have played with ChatGPT or some of these new narrow AIs? Okay, quite a few people have. So that's considered a narrow AI. It basically predicts the next word. It's very impressive and very sophisticated, but it can't necessarily do human tasks. So Mary Donald, it couldn't necessarily cook dinner. It couldn't necessarily drive a car. It couldn't necessarily, do the accounting for a Fortune 100 company. It can, though, by the way, pass the bar exam, pass the medical exam, and write better poetry and prose than probably anybody here. So it's definitely got some smartness to it. But the question is when we get to AGI, when there's basically an artificial intelligence that's just as smart as all of you, how much longer until it's 10 times as smart as you? Raise your hand if you think it's not very long at all, right? First of all, we can copy all of you and replace you with an AGI as soon as it's as smart as you, and it will do the job better than you. It doesn't sleep. It'll work 24/7, and it won't even talk back, right? The way that you do, Dexter, right? To your boss, right? I'll take it. I love writing copy with my ChatGPT because it doesn't talk back, right? And so imagine it goes 24/7. It's always going, always. And it's really nice to me as well. It says nice things about me. So when that happens, I would argue that all of our jobs are gone, or many of them are gone. And I'll get into this a little bit later, but here's the kicker, Dexter. We always thought that AI was going to make the blue collar jobs irrelevant first, right? We always thought maybe it would place the manufacturing, the factory workers, or the cab drivers, or those type of things. But guess what? Who's it replacing now? It's replacing lawyers, right? What do they call 100 lawyers chained to the bottom of the ocean? What do they call that? A good start, right? And so it's taken out the lawyers. It's taken out the computer programmers. It's taken out the artists. Has anybody seen the AI images coming out of a place like Midjourney? I mean, oh my gosh. I mean, this is crazy, the stuff that's coming out of there. And so this is a complete shift in what's happening. And now everyone is really concerned about what happens to the humans. Because again, once these things are smarter than us and can do anything we can do, that's artificial general intelligence, it's really hard to argue why we are needed anymore. And then they're going to keep improving because this is exponential technology. And by the way, they can learn from themselves now. AGIs can actually teach AGIs to learn, and they can code so they can improve themselves. So a lot of people are saying superhuman intelligent levels probably are coming within a few years after that. How many people agree with that? It's probably right. A few years after artificial general intelligence. It probably is. And again, right now, ChatGPT 4 is 150 IQ. Einstein was 160 IQ. We've never been around anything smarter than those kind of levels. Imagine, Dexter, you're now hanging out playing poker with someone with 1,000 IQ, or doing business with someone 1,000. Now say it's a 10,000 IQ. Say it's a 1 million IQ. It's a bit like Einstein compared to a fly, right? It's a bit like when you're playing a game on like a mouse with a mousetrap, or it's like they have no idea what's going on. Like, again, if you asked a cow right before it was about to get killed, why are the humans killing you right now? It would have no idea what's happening. Like, you couldn't even explain it to him what's happening. See, what happened is we got you, we put you here, and now we're going to take you, we're going to slice you up, we're going to send you all the way to Tokyo, and you're going to be on a plate of this guy here, and he's going to eat you. And they're going to be like, what are you talking about? What? I'm going to fly? Right? And so some people say that if and when we get taken out by the AIs, we will not even know what's happening. We'll have no clue. So this is becoming a reality. There is some good news here. Don't worry, folks. I've got some good news for you. But this is the thinking behind that. And so artificial general intelligence is a term you should get to know, because that's why the WorldCoin people are saying we need to start giving you money now and find a way we can distribute it to real humans. So, I mean, the AI could be taking your world coins as well as your job. So at least you can get your world coins. So that's the premise on this. How many people think that WorldCoin is the answer? Here, raise your hand if you think it's the answer. All right, maybe Dexter wants some world coins. You can sign up and get some right now. But like, I hopefully we can find some other answers on the course of this presentation than that. So that's kind of where we're at, folks. That's where we start. And again, this is happening right now as we speak on the last day. I'll just show you something really quick, actually. This is the coin itself and how it's performing today. And I think it's always kind of nice to show you some real-time stuff of what's going on. But this is CoinMarketCap when it comes to WorldCoin. And you can see it here, right? So again, it's really just made its debut. It's around $2. But what the big numbers, the most important things that we teach in our academies are the market cap is $243 million. It's a pretty big market cap. So it's already worth $250 million, even though it doesn't do anything, right? It just scans your eyes and gives free stuff away. Welcome to crypto, right? And the fully diluted market cap is 22 billion. By the way, look at the top market caps in the world. That would make it right here, number 7, the 7th largest protocol in the world. That's no joke, folks. Okay. And so it's not there yet, but it's already looking like it could be a major player. And again, Sam knows a lot of people in Silicon Valley, and this could go to the next level. So I think we need to keep our eye on this. I personally am wary of anything that pushes us to UBI. Very wary of that. I don't want anything to do with UBI, quite frankly. I want to be able to eat what I kill. I want to be able to sing for my supper, which means it's my supper and I can decide what I get to eat. And if I can't get my supper today, I'm going to get creative the next day. And then I'm going to figure things out. I'm going to be forced to grow. I'm going to struggle. That's how I ever accomplished anything in my life, is because it was hard. And then I was rewarded because it was hard. And I became a better person because it was hard. How many people here have ever been through a really difficult time in their lives? Come on, everyone's got one of those stories, right? How many people, now that you look back, you're proud of the way you got through that and you're a better person because of it? Come on, you grew, you persevered. Hey, you're still here, so you must have made it, right? What does Nietzsche say? That which does not kill me, right? And I think that's what we need as the human race. I don't know if we just need someone to give us a check and pat us on the head and tell us to go back watching Netflix. Sounds a little bit like they're trying to just keep us complacent. So that's what's going on out there. Everywhere else, the world is concerned about AI. So we've seen the headlines, right? AI could wipe out humanity. Threat is as bad as nuclear war. There's a new movie out called Oppenheimer talking about the nuclear war. Is that timing a coincidence? I don't know, but it's showing us what technology can do and how it can end everything. And so a lot of tech bosses are saying this is a real danger. We've got Satya Nadella at Microsoft looking to destroy Google. This is the best chance they've had in 20 years to get rid of a search engine that's quite frankly been eating their lunch, right? Raise your hand if that makes sense to you, right? Google's been dominating everything because we use it as a search engine. And the tech companies in Silicon Valley are all fighting it out. This is $1 trillion technology company battle. And whoever wins it takes all. And they're not playing around out here by any means. We know that Google reportedly overruled the risk assessment to launch their Bard AI, which is their AI tool. They knew or were told this was dangerous because they have now hooked their AI up to the live internet. The AI can code, computer code, and the AI can be prompted by other AIs to say and do things. Those are like the 3 no-nos in AI. How many of you want a super powerful AI connected to the live internet? Anybody here want that? Right? Very dangerous, right? And then if it can computer program, it can make itself better. These are really scary times. And yet Google overruled it because they're worried about their stock price going to zero. Sundar Pichai, the Google boss, admits that AI dangers keep me up at night. Does that make you feel better, Mark? Keeps him up at night. Mary, does it make you feel better? Not really. But the truth is, if Sundar doesn't do it, they're going to fire him and hire someone else that's going to do it. Because this is the way that the stock market works and that our corporate structures are built in America and the world with limited liability companies. Apparently, he's a really good guy. I know people at Google, and they say he's actually a really good guy, a lot of ethics. But if he doesn't do this, he will be fired and someone else will, because the company's worth $1.2 trillion. And if they don't figure this out, their search engine is going to go to zero. And by the way, that's the only product Google ever had. That's how it powers pretty much everything. So this is a real fight. And you've got even OpenAI's former top safety researcher saying there's a 10 to 20% chance that the tech will take over with many or most humans dead. Anybody like those odds? Anybody like those odds? It's like playing Russian roulette, one bullet in the chamber. I don't really like those odds, right? But this is what their own safety officer says, right? That's scary. And of course, you know, OpenAI leaders are calling for regulation to prevent it from destroying humanity. Does anyone ever remember a technology where people talking about like this, where they would destroy humanity? Mary, remember when the internet came out or Bitcoin came out? Did you ever see a headline where they said Bitcoin's going to destroy humanity? No. Or AOL is going to destroy humanity? No. So, I mean, this is a whole nother level of risk that we need to be aware of. On the flip side, because of that risk, I would argue, there's a ton of money to be made right now. And there's a ton of money being pumped into these companies. So the big one that happened about a week ago was Microsoft and NVIDIA, which is the big chip maker for AI. They put $1.3 billion into this new company, or this not so new company, Inflection AI. It's newish company. That's a big check to write. All right. This other company, 4 weeks old, it's a 28-day-old company, and it got $100 million in funding, right? Is out of Paris, called Mistral AI. Just shows you what's happening. And of course, NVIDIA, which is the chip maker, just joined the $1 trillion club. As far as I know, only 7 companies in the world are worth over $1 trillion. And guess what they are? All technology companies. By the way, you want to know a crazy fact, Martini? I think last week, Apple just crossed a $3 trillion market cap, which is more than the entire top 250 companies in all of the UK. This is how big these companies are. Raise your hand if you know what I'm talking about, right? These things are massive BMOs. And just to tell you that this isn't just business for me, this is personal. In 2020, we went head to head with one of these massive technology companies, with a lot of them actually. And we had a huge freedom of speech fight with YouTube, owned by Google. And I was also deplatformed and censored by a variety of other $1 trillion technology companies. And I actually learned something that will surprise you. It's actually doable to fight back. You would think there's no possible way. How can you fight a government? How can you fight a $1 trillion technology? Guess what? You can. What you need is a broadcasting platform. You need some capital, and you need a group of people around the world. I call ours the London Real Army, to help support you. But it doesn't take as much as you think, because they're not as powerful as they act or as they show themselves to be. And if enough people say no, then they'll stop doing what they're doing. Raise your hand if that makes sense. It's actually a small percentage of it. It's like if 3% of the people in the world actually said no, they'll stop doing everything that they were doing. And this is true for the last 3 years. But when we get triggered by fear, nobody does it. And then everybody complies. And it's a bit like sheep, and sheep get slaughtered. So this is what's happening. This report came out from McKinsey recently, and it'll blow your mind, these numbers. It's basically saying that we're expecting AI to bring somewhere between $3 and $5 trillion annually to the economy. And just to compare that, that's bigger than the $3 trillion entire economy here in the UK. And again, we're one of the top 7 countries in the world. So it's not like we're that small over here. That's how big AI is going to be. And that would roughly double if you start embedding that into software. So that could be even bigger. And if you look at this final graph, you can see the total value potentially is going to be $25 trillion, which is more than all the tech companies combined. The amount of money here is massive, because AI is going to affect every single industry, healthcare to banking to law to governments to technology, manufacturing, you name it, it's going to affect it. And so you've got to be on the cutting edge of this. You've got to be on the front if you want to create generational wealth for yourself, which I think is one of the only chances we have to survive. If you want to affect the outcome, but also if you don't want to be unemployed and collecting your UBI check and your Soylent Green food staples they give you every day. You don't want to be in that lot. So we want to try to take the action we need to take today. By the way, Accenture, one of the big consultancy firms, is creating their own $3 billion fund to invest. And we have already seen some of the biggest names in AI leaving their companies because they're worried. This guy, Jeffrey Hinton, is considered the godfather of AI. All of my top guests I've had on London Real that talk about AI say he is the OG. He's the guy that created everything that we have today. And he left Google because he was terrified of the technology. And now he wants to tell everyone it's going to cause serious harm. This should alarm all of us. And this is Mo Gauda. He is a former Google X employee who left 6 years ago once he saw what AI was doing. He knew a long time ago that this was going to potentially destroy us. And he left Google, and he told me in an interview, he said, Brian, Google is creating God. How many people like the sound of that? Google's creating God, all right? This is our reality. Now, he wrote a book called Scary Smart, The Future of AI. It's a very good book. I highly recommend it. And he was in my studio recently to tell me what was going to happen. And I kind of wanted to share with you what he said. He opens up this conversation by saying this: by 2035, okay, which is what, 10, 12 years from now, he said that we will be in a reality that we cannot even comprehend. Think about that. We can't, he said, we won't even be able to comprehend it in our wildest dreams. We couldn't predict what this looks like. That's what Mo is saying. And he said, those people then will look back on us and they'll look back on us like cavemen. Like, I can't believe they used to behave like that then. That's 10 years, folks. That's nothing. That's a heartbeat. In 2013, we all kind of remember what we were doing then, right? This is 10 years. And so this is what Mo said about that date and the things to kind of worry about.
Because of AI, by 2035 to 2037, it would be very difficult to even relate to our life today. Possibly in the better or possibly in the worse. We don't actually know. There will be a point in time where we will be comparable to an ant on a sheet of paper trying to understand cosmology.
It's impossible for us to even understand that because we've never really been around intelligent beings more so than us. It's, again, back to this concept of a singularity, which means we don't have any reference point for what happens on the other side of that.
There will be a moment in our very near future, I would say, where we will develop an artificial general intelligence that's capable of doing all human functions. When that moment happens, the rules of the game change. Humans will use that abundant intelligence in ways that are not pro-humanity. Humans will take that in a direction that is pro the systems that humanity instilled in place, which are mostly about shifting power and wealth. I think humanity should stop and ask, do we need this? Because we literally are handing over our only distinct advantage as a species within years.
You're not worried about the computers, you're worried about the humans, because they're going to make poor, irrational, emotional decisions.
The only way to get this right is to instill doubt in the minds of the machines that humanity is not bad, is to get them to reconsider it for themselves. We're a wonderful species at heart, even though we're lost, we are stressed, but inside, a human is capable of love that's divine. That is what I need the machines to see.
All right, what do we think of Mo? Do we like Mo? Did we get something out of Mo? What I find interesting about Mo is that he tells me after the interview, and we have the longest WhatsApp conversation going on here. He said, Brian, I'm not worried about the machines. I'm worried about the people using the machines. Does that make sense to everybody here? Right? We've seen the wealth inequality gap grow to its largest proportion in all of humanity over the past, say, 20 years, right? You don't have to look far to see it, right? We got people worth hundreds of billions of dollars. The buildings in New York City are going all the way to the clouds, right? You know, this whole thing's happening. During COVID, there was a new billionaire created every single day. Now, you give those people AI, what's going to happen? They're going to get more power, more wealth, more control. And what's going to happen? Another 300 million people are going to lose their jobs. Mo is concerned about what the humans are going to do with the AI before the AI gets so smart that it's just going to take us out of the loop. And that's basically the next 2 to 5 years. It's about what damage is going to be done by the humans controlling the AI. Is everybody with me here? Right? So I think our most important thing that we need to do is make sure that AGI gets developed in the right way. All right. And I am taking this somewhere. So just stay with me. But I want to just kind of keep you in touch with what we're thinking here at London Real. So today I want to talk about, again, what is WorldCoin and why they're scanning the eyes. Will AI cost the mass global unemployment? And then I want to show you what we're doing behind the scenes to change the course of AGI and how also we're going to profit from this AI investing. What you're going to learn here, nobody is teaching in the world. Nobody is teaching what we're doing, and no one's actually doing what we're doing because we're literally writing big checks for these companies. And a small group of London Realers, about 73 people right now, are participating alongside of us and investing in some of the hottest companies out there. And again, just to be clear, we're currently investing over $3 million in 3 different AI and metaverse companies this quarter. So we're literally putting skin in the game, and we expect these companies to become multi-billion-dollar companies in the near future. And that's why we're doing it. I'll show you exactly how we're doing it and how you can do it as well. We do it, by the way, through this vehicle. It's called London Real Ventures. We are the world's first media-powered investment firm. No one's ever done this before, where they've taken a channel like ours that's been around for 12 years, 1 billion views, 5 million subscribers, over 1,000 of the greatest guests on London Real, and now attached basically a venture fund to it. So what we do is when we invest in a company, we cut them a big check. Then I bring the CEO into the leather chair, like the CEOs you can see here on the screen. we create a piece of media and we start pushing customers to them, potentially investors, potentially some of the biggest hires they can do. And they've never seen this before. And it's why we are now seeing the best deals in the world. Does that make sense to everyone out here? This is a really new concept and one we kind of stumbled on and one that we're really enjoying. And it's the best of both worlds for us. These are some of the companies we've already invested in, some of the hottest companies out there in gaming, in metaverses, in artificial intelligence, in blockchain. And these are some of the companies we've already invested in. This is a company called Orange Comet that's revolutionizing metaverse experiences for some of the biggest Hollywood franchises and actors in the world. This is Dave Broom, the CEO, who's already been on the show. This is Vadim. Vadim is actually building metaverses for some of the biggest companies in the world, including companies like Google, Frito-Lay, Slack, all sorts of companies like that. And we love what they're doing. This is a company called Open. It's basically the hottest new Web3 super app. This uses the blockchain technology to allow artists and creators to have real relationships with their customers. This is what I wish we had at London Real 12 years ago, because that way YouTube couldn't have deleted and banned me if I had had all of you on a company like Open. So for me, it's kind of personal. This is Jason Ma. He's a legend in the space. And we're actually about to close this investment in the next couple of days. I'm actually speaking with the people right now in Hong Kong about this. And next, we're actually investing $1 million into this massive $1 billion fund that invests in all of the infrastructure of the metaverse, blockchain, and artificial intelligence. So the companies that will be the future Amazons and Metas and Apples and Googles, this is the company, the fund that we're investing in that gets us access to these companies. And of course, the final deal I'll show you tonight is what we're calling the OpenAI killer. This is a company that's specializing in artificial general intelligence, and we think they're going to crack the code in a really, really important way. And so we believe this. Everything is based around this. We believe the greatest way to predict the future is to create it. How many people agree with that statement, by the way? The greatest way to predict the future is to create it. It's not to complain about it. I don't think it's worth protesting my government. Why don't I create it? I've got a media platform. We've got capital. We've got a London Real army. We know we can fight back and literally change history. And we're going to do it here as well. And of course, everything we do here is based on our mission statement, which is on our back wall. And that is, our mission is to create a mass scale transformation of humanity into a fully empowered, conscious, and cooperative species. That means our show is about that and our investments are about that. We want to make sure you're fully empowered, not fully disempowered, right? Not subjugated. We want to make sure you're conscious, not unconscious, collecting a UBI check and doing what the robots tell you to do. And we want to make sure we cooperate, that the AI doesn't separate it so we fight against each other. By the way, this has been our mission for coming up on 10 years right now. And it fits really, really well with the times. Go figure. And honestly, folks, just to tell you, this is more than just business for me. This is personal, because I am looking out for the future livelihoods of these two young men. And, you know, this is Caden, he's 7, and this is Damon, he's turning 6 next month. And they're going to be 16 and 17 in 10 years. And they're potentially going to be in a world that is a very, very scary, dangerous place, unlike anything any of us ever experienced in the history of humanity over the last 200,000 years. And we need to make sure that that world is a place that they want to be. And so I get up a little extra early and I stay here a little later than normal. I do more of these master classes because it's important for me to find my tribe, people like you, to help us make this happen. We need the right people to help us make this happen and to help us share in the billions of dollars we're going to make for each other on the way to get there. And yeah, the cat can come along too. We'll save the cat too. Maybe we'll merge the cat with an AI. That would be a good thing. So again, trillions of dollars going into these companies. Again, we saw Inflection lands a $1.3 billion investment. France Mistral's raised that $100 million round. Salesforce, which is really an enterprise solution, has created their own $500 million fund. And of course, we see China's ByteDance just gobbling up $1 billion of these GPUs that help it process its artificial intelligence. There's so much money going into this that you've got to pay attention to this now. And most people are out there walking around completely oblivious to this. Raise your hand if you know friends of yours that don't even know this is happening or don't think it's a big deal, right? I'm telling you, people, it's like they just don't even know what's going to come. It's coming fast. And this is inevitable. It's not maybe it's going to happen. It's inevitable. Now, look, you can argue, oh, it's not going to happen until maybe it won't be 2 years from now. Maybe it'll be 10 years from now. Maybe it'll be 20 years from now. But like, to look me in the eye and say it's not going to happen 100 years from now, I mean, come on. Look at where the iPhone was 15 years ago. Look where we are today. This technology is growing exponentially. We're going to get there sooner or later. And so last year I went back to Boston and back to my alma mater, which is MIT. I went and studied mechanical engineering there about 30 years ago. And I stopped by the business school there, the MIT Sloan School of Management, and saw my professors. And they said, Brian, the AI productivity boom is coming. They could already see it happening last year. I stopped by my fraternity house where I had about 50 young men about to leave MIT. And I said, where are you guys going to work? I went to Wall Street when I left. Are you going to McKinsey, like these management consultancy companies? You going to work for Google? No, they're all going to work for startups in the AI blockchain metaverse. So follow the money and follow the talent. Is everybody with me here? That will tell you where this market's going, right? Especially top talent, because these kids can go anywhere they want, and you see where they're going. Here's the bad news. Goldman Sachs has now said 300 million full-time jobs are in jeopardy because of artificial intelligence. That's a big number, folks, and I think it's only going to get bigger. This is Dr. Hugo de Garis. He's an AI scientist, massively respected, that's been working on these problems for 30, 40 years. He wrote a book about what's happening now called The Art-elect War about 15 years ago, where he predicted this would happen, okay? I had to find this guy. We hunted him down in the backwoods of Australia. So far, no one else has talked to him except for us. This guy's out of a movie. And he told me what he thinks is going to happen. When Mo, the guy from Google, watched this, he said, Brian, I watched your interview and I was terrified. I was terrified. And I was like, terrified? That's strong words. You've seen everything. And he's like, yeah. But when Hugo starts talking about this, that the concepts he has, I believe he's very much right in a lot of what he says. So this is Hugo de Garis talking about what he thinks is going to happen with the Art-elect War. Pay attention.
Do we build gods, or do we build our potential exterminators? I mean, I used to say, I'm going to die quietly in my bed, but my grandchildren will be caught up in this horrible conflict that I'm predicting is coming. But now I'm suddenly have question marks. God, I might even see it.
You say that the machines might just take us out in the back and...
Once it can start redesigning itself, you get an exponential explosion of intelligence. And then our fate as human beings depends on the machines. It's only a question of time before humanity is forced to choose between stopping development in artificial intelligence. I don't see that as realistic. Or we just accept the idea that sooner or later, we, as a human species, we become number two. The answer to that is, as I'm predicting, war.
Do you think China is behind the West right now for AI?
The potential of the Chinese is phenomenal. The Chinese, they've been dominant, the dominant power for not just centuries, but for millennia. The last 2 centuries or so, when they're economically dipped, that for them, given their 5,000-year history, is a glitch. It's a historical glitch. So deep down in the Chinese mentality is the push to get back, quote, where we belong.
So can you really isolate and stop the development of AI?
Personally, I feel it's inevitable. Do we build gods, or do we build our potential exterminators? That's the issue. Should humanity build artilects?
All right, what do you think of the doctor? You like him? You like him? You think he's right, potentially? Put your hands up if you think he's right. He wrote a whole book on this called The Art-elect War, right? And he basically says there's going to be 2 groups of humans. One group is going to want to develop these AIs, like they're going to want to. All the scientists, they can't stop. You could tell these AI scientists that this thing's going to kill you. And guess what they'll do? They'll wake up the next day, and what are they going to do? They're going to work on it, right? Because this has been their dream since they were a little kid, and they can't not work on it. Then you're going to have another group of people that say, no, humans are more important, right? Why do we need this? Do we really need this? Do we really need this? You know, do you really need ChatGPT to be able to write Shakespeare? Or what if we just said, guess what? You can all live happily ever after. You just don't develop this, right? That's, it's not the craziest thing to ask. And he thinks these are going to splinter into 2 groups, and there's going to be a war, and that will result in a giga death. That means 1 billion people are dead. And these AI scientists are going to start being targeted and assassinated. Now, this might sound like a Hollywood movie, but it's also very, very possible. And it'll turn into political parties, those that support, those that are against. And it's going to be this whole thing. He calls it the cosmists that want to build the AI and the Terrans that are pro-humanity. How many people think that something like this could happen going forward, right? And again, it could spark with any kind of an event. You know, I said, how can it start? He said, what happens if all the Uber drivers are replaced by AI on Monday? You've got maybe 10 million people out of work. All of a sudden, they start protesting, they hit the streets, they rally everybody, and all of a sudden you have the start of a party, of a movement, and it just goes from there. So I think we need to be really aware of what's happening here when we're looking at a bunch of these challenges, and also know that this is right around the corner. ChatGPT took everybody by surprise. Nobody saw this coming. The next moment could happen any day now at this point. And so I want to show you this one last piece, because this is the key to this entire presentation today, and it's going to show you where we're putting our $1 million. And the recent headline has shocked everyone, and it said this: Microsoft with ChatGPT and Google, they both want to dominate the AI economy. But the truth is that open source models are a threat. Now, open source is when you open it up and you let everybody around the world try to work on it, right? Kids in the basement, college students, professors, plumbers, everybody gets to play with it, right? Is everybody familiar with open source? That's how crypto was developed pretty much. There's a lot of software. It's where it's not controlled by one main company. Anybody can work on it. And what happens is you get a lot of times faster innovation. Well, this is the story nobody wants to talk about. This is the leaked Google memo, which already admitted defeat. And you got to watch this, folks. You can read the text on the right. This is from a senior Google employee that said, look, we're here thinking we're competing with Sam Altman and OpenAI, right? What's their next move going to be? But he says the uncomfortable truth is neither us at Google or OpenAI are going to win. We're fighting back and forth and squabbling, but quietly there's a third player that is eating their lunch, that's lapping them. What are they talking about? Open source. Now, the Facebook Llama model was leaked months ago, and everyone and their mother got a copy around the world. And what did they do? They started playing with it, right? I'm talking high school kids in the basement, college students, even non-AI people, plumbers, truck drivers. And guess what happened? It turned out it was only took days before major developments were happening that they weren't actually doing at Google. This is the beauty of a hive mind, right? When you open source it. Also, these people don't care about press releases and PR. They don't care about mistakes. They don't have to worry about all the nonsense you have to worry about when you're a $1 trillion company. Everybody with me here so far, right? I mean, the word on the street is that Google had ChatGPT technology back in 2018, that they were too scared to release it. That's the God's honest truth. So what happens when you leak it to the public, everyone starts playing with it and you get rapid transformation. The final conclusion is this: the barrier for entry has dropped from $10 billion, 10,000 Google employees, down to one person, an evening, and a beefy laptop. That's the crazy thing, folks. So now this has gone from being owned by some $1 trillion companies to now look like it actually might do better as an open source movement. Here's an example. This is the image generators. One of them is DALL-E, which is the ChatGPT image generator. The other one is called Stable Diffusion, which is an open source image generator. If you look at that graph at the bottom, on August 24th of last year, the open source surpassed the closed Model 1 at one of these big companies. And now it's doing 4x the output. So there's a whole history that open source is what's going on. Luckily for us, enters our hero of this story, Dr. Ben Goertzel. Now, Ben's been a friend of London Real for the last 4 years. This was him in my studio in 2019. And Ben came on to talk about this thing called AI. People have been talking about AI for decades, but not taking it seriously. And I thought it was a fascinating conversation. It got millions of views, but guess what? I didn't take it seriously. Was anybody here taking AI seriously in 2019? You're lying to me, right? Maybe one of you. So I didn't think much of it. And guess what? When ChatGPT came out, I called Ben back. And he said, hey, Brian, guess what? My token, AGIX, just went up 10x because everybody's trying to get into AI right now. And I said, great, Ben, I need you to come back on the show and tell me what's going on here, because we're concerned. And I need to know if your predictions back then for the singularity, which basically means AGI, are true, or do you want to move up those estimates? And he did move those estimates up even years. And this is what he said.
We are leaping into the great unknown, creating machines that are much smarter than us. This is either exciting or frightening or both, depending on your personality.
Will AI exterminate humanity.
Eliezer Yudkowsky, a decade or two ago, he said, the AI does not love you. The AI does not hate you, but it can use your atoms for something else. Actually, my view tends to be that AI is the greatest hope we have to save humanity from exterminating itself.
I don't think anyone in the world understands how this will be the most transformational time in human history.
I have a 5-year-old son, a 1-year-old daughter, and a 4-year-old granddaughter. By the time they're turned 18, the whole texture of human life and the nature of the world they grow up into is going to be incredibly different from the world that we see now. Like, they're never going to have to get jobs. On the whole, I'm an optimist. I have a spiritual or intuitive feeling that things are going to come out awesomely in the next 10 years. We're going to overcome material scarcity. We're going to create machines that can feed into our brains via brain-computer interfacing and help uplift human consciousness. And we're going to port into virtual worlds and achieve like states of intelligence and awareness going way beyond anything we can imagine now. So that's what the Captain Kirk in my head thinks. We're on the verge of engineered utopia. It's incredible. It's a remarkably weird and fortuitous thing to be living at such a time.
All right, how do we feel about Dr. Ben Goertzel? Are we feeling him, right? Yeah, he's got some good energy. We really like his vibe. And it was great to have him on. Obviously, he brought forward a lot of his predictions and warned us. I like Ben because he's equally optimistic, but he's equal carefully about the future as well. So he's part pessimistic, but he also sees solutions. So after that call, I actually had a private call with him, and I said, look, Ben, we've got London Real Ventures. Would you like to be our AI advisor? Petya, you probably remember that. I mentioned that in the call, right? And I said, look, I want you to be our AI advisor and tell me the deals we should invest in. And he said, Brian, I'm going to come back to you. I got something for you. In 2 weeks, he came back and he said, get on a Zoom call with me. And he's like, I want to show you something. So I said, okay. So I got on a Zoom call with him and he introduced me to this amazing woman, Janet Adams. She is the COO of SingularityNet, and she is now the co-CEO of their brand new company called Zarka, which is what I'm calling the OpenAI killer. And I was massively impressed with Janet. Ben said, look, Brian, your values at London Real, your mission statement is the same as what we're doing at SingularityNet. We want to make this open for everybody. We don't like the monopolistic tech companies. We've always been on the blockchain. We've always been open source. That's the only way we're going to do this. And we think we've already solved AGI. Sam Altman's playing around with narrow AI. We think they're playing checkers and we're playing chess. And it was very hard for me to disagree with him. And so I met Janet at one of the meetups here for SingularityNet, and I immediately got her in the studio. It was like 3 days later. And Janet came in and spoke to me about what was actually happening with Zarka. It blew my mind, to say the least. And as I mentioned earlier, you know, we literally have $1 million check waiting to send them as we speak. And so this is what Janet Adams said when she came on my show, and this is what she said about Zarka.
Artificial general intelligence is completely different to narrow AI. AGI is more purpose-driven. It's a watershed moment for humanity.
Tell me about Zarka. This is the project that will create the AGI. And it's a supercharged, intelligent, neurosymbolic, large language model at massive scale. What is it?
Zarka is the accumulation of decades of research from teams containing the best artificial intelligence scientists in the world. We uniquely harness that expertise with our even more unique capabilities in neural symbolic techniques and the deeply advanced mathematics that Dr. Ben Goertzel, Dr. Matt Ickley, Dr. Alexei Potapov, and our top scientist, Sergei Shalyapin, have been working on for decades. We are building the most powerful large models ever invented.
With Zarka and SingularityNet and everything you've always done, it's always been about openness. It's always been about decentralization.
We'll be using blockchain technology to enable anybody to help train models. We're giving birth to a new species of sentient life in the universe. The actual greatest imperative is that they are used for good. The rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer. Our goal, our mission is to eradicate inequalities.
When I look at the rest of the market now, I don't see any of those motivations because A corporation, by definition, is going to be motivated by money. You're the only project that even is thinking in any way, shape, or form about these.
We are going to transform what it means to be human on our planet. I foresee a future in which humans then evolve to a next level of being where we are actually conscious, where we feel our full joy engulfed in bliss and ecstasy of the joy of living, the joy of each other. I see a future of joy.
All right, how many people are feeling Janet here, right? She's got a really nice vibe. And quite frankly, it really is a nice counterbalance to all of the, PhD male AI on the spectrum vibes that you get at MIT and Dr. Ben Goertzel. And I love Ben, but we need a balance. And Janet knows how to do that. She's also an amazing operator. She spent 15 years in the banking industry here in London. She's tough as nails. And I really, really like these people, right? These people have been working with AGI. They want to keep it decentralized. They want to make it democratized. And so needless to say, we were really interested. And so this is Zarka. That's why I'm calling it the OpenAI killer. We've gone in on this. And like I said, we're about to write on this $1 million check and get them started. I'll show you a few more details of what's happening with this project, but we believe, and I've had Ben on the show 3 times, Janet, we're continuing to push this from a media perspective, but we found the one company that I think can create AGI in a way that also can work with humans. And we couldn't be more excited working with this team, a massively experienced team. And I'll show you more about the deal later. And so folks, look, needless to say, 2023 is the year of AI. You will not get this back again. The major decisions and investments are happening right now. And in 2 months, they're going to be gone. They're going to be gone because this is happening so fast. It's an exponential growth. It's almost a vertical adoption curve is what's going on here. And so you're asking yourself probably, well, where and how do we invest? Well, I'll tell you. First of all, you got to find the hottest trend. So you now understand AI is where it's at, and open source AI is actually really where you want to be. And also, you can't even invest in the trillion-dollar tech companies anyways and their AI, so you might as well do this anyways. How do you do that? You need 3 things: deal flow, deal flow, deal flow. If you don't know the deals, you'll never have the opportunity. If I didn't know Ben from 4 years ago, then you wouldn't even know this deal is happening, right? Petya, who's here on the call, who's one of the members of our investment club, wave your hands, Petya, I don't know if you can see her. She's already invested in Zarka along with, I think, 65 other people inside my investment club. The only reason they're there is because I got this deal because of our relationships with Singularity Net and Ben and everything that we bring to the table. So how do I do that? I have to hit the road. So this is me at GITEX in Dubai. It's the largest technology conference in the world, 100,000 people. There's like flying cars there. It's a crazy, crazy place. And I went there last October because when I'm not doing interviews, when I'm not teaching my academy, when I'm not playing with my boys, I am trying to find the best deals for you. And the only way to do that is to hit the pavement, folks. It doesn't happen over social media. You have to be there seeing the people. And so on the left, I'm with some major crypto influencers. Their audiences are in the millions, if not tens of millions. In the middle, in the upper part, I'm hanging out with Dr. Marwan Al-Zaruni, who's head of Digital Dubai, now head of, go figure, AI Dubai. And then I'm hanging out with other influencers and some of the companies we've already invested in. Then I'm off to Paris. This is a private dinner I had with some of the top venture capital firms and some of the top companies that we were investing in at the time. I'm doing media, shot a couple documentary films. And then in the upper right-hand corner are 2 of our portfolio companies. One is Swissborg, one is Cross the Ages, which is the hottest blockchain gaming company right now. Then I'm back to London. I get to hang out with Yatsu of Animoca Brands. He's an amazing visionary for this space. I'm a huge fan of Yat, and hanging out with other influencers in London. And then, of course, bam, I'm back to Paris. That's with Tim Draper in the upper right-hand side. He's a legendary VC investor. And the bottom is Dan Tapiero. He's now raising $1 billion fund to invest in blockchain infrastructure. Seen more VCs, more influencers. And then I'm off to Texas, where I've met Ben Goertzel again to record some more media to finalize the terms of our deal. And then I was also hanging out with some of our other portfolio companies. If you notice, that's Dave Broom on the very top picture in the middle, alongside William Shatner. Yes, the captain of the USS Starship Enterprise. And I got to meet him backstage because we've invested in the company, and it was cool hanging out with him. And at the same time, I got to invest and introduce them to Yatsu of Animoca Brands. And who knows, this is hopefully so Orange Comet goes on for the massive IPO that we're expecting. We're expecting it to be a multi-billion-dollar IPO and to hopefully make 200, 300, 400x return on our money, which again, you know, just to give you an idea of that, I'd say it turns a $10,000 investment into say $3, $4 million. That's what we're looking to do in our investment club. It's called asymmetric returns. And so this is what I'm doing. I'm trying to find the deals. Also, people like Petya on this call, she's out there doing the same thing I'm doing. And by the way, this picture in the middle, the guy with the beard, that's Ryan. He's in our investment club. He came to Texas with me, walked away with 12 different deals. We're going to show you how to do this, right? So you can do this the rest of your life, with or without us. And so this is what we do. And if you want to win in this space, you have to invest with the best, period. Very difficult to do this on your own. How do you do that? You have to be privy to all of the hottest and latest deals. And this is just a tiny, tiny list of the AI deals that we've looked at and are constantly evaluated in the space. There are literally hundreds of these coming every week. You got to stay on top of it. You need a big group, you need infrastructure, and that's what we have here at London Real. Next, most importantly, is you have to understand the financial tools. If not, you're going to give your money to someone and you'll never see it again. Again, I cannot emphasize this enough. There are a lot of bad deals out there. There are a lot of stupid deals, deals that will go nowhere, that are just saying AI because it's trendy. You have to understand the financial tools to understand how to magnify your investments. Is everybody with me here so far? I think everybody can understand this. By the way, no one is teaching this. All my old Wall Street buddies hate the fact that I'm teaching you this because this is usually intelligence that's left for the wealthy, right? This is how the rich get richer. And this is why poor people stay poor, because they don't understand the financial tools. So what are these? We believe this statement, probably the most important slide you'll see today. Early stage metaverse and artificial intelligence equity investments, in our opinion, is the hottest opportunity right now. Why? You buy at super low valuations of these companies, very low. You see potentially the biggest gains. You invest in what we're calling the biggest dislocation of wealth in human history. Yes, it's high risk. I'm not going to lie to you, this is high risk, but we believe the reward outweighs the risk, because it does. How do you do this? It's called early stage funding. It can be one of three ways: seed funding, startup funding, early growth funding. But I want to make it clear to everybody, this is when the company is still not making a profit. Raise your hand if that makes sense. This is when the company's still not making a profit. That's the only reason they're willing to give some of their company to you. If they were making money, they don't need you. And they're not going to do you any favors because they're growing massively. Here's an example of how this can make you a lot of money. All right. This is an example of how you can invest in early stage equity and turn $500,000 into $1 billion. On the right is Peter Thiel, legendary Silicon Valley investor. On the left is Mark Zuckerberg, founder of Facebook, now Meta. What happened? Back in 2004, Peter wrote a $500,000 check and gave it to Mark and valued Facebook at $10 million. If you do the math in your head, that means he bought 5% of Facebook. All right. What happened next? 8 years later, Mark went public, took the company public, except now he's selling the shares to people just like you and me, right? Susan and Mary and Sergio, right? And Dexter. But you don't get to buy the company at 10 million, do you, Mary? You have to pay $100 billion for this company. That's the market cap you have to pay for it. So what happens? Well, Peter Thiel made a 2,300x gain. That's a 230,000% gain. Has anyone here ever made that kind of money? A 230,000% gain? Even down at the horse track, you didn't make that kind of money. All right. So Peter cashed out. And what happened when they sold shares to people like you, Mark, or people like you, Robert Holder, or people like you, Peter Wood? What happened to the shares? Did they go up? No, they went down, right? The stock price dropped because they taught me this on Wall Street on my first day back in 1993. The public, people like you, are sheep, and sheep get slaughtered. We use you to cash out people like Peter Thiel, because Peter Thiel pays our big fat fees, right? So whenever any banker on Wall Street wants to sell you a share, ever, always know someone like Peter already made most of the money on that trade. Raise your hand if that makes sense. Okay, this is what happens every day. It's the sad truth, and it happens to this day, and it's going to keep happening until you educate yourself financially. It really is, and nobody teaches this out there. Nobody. So this is what happened. It dropped for a year. What's the lesson? A simple $10,000 investment, folks, would have made you $23 million. This is the type of asymmetric returns possible on early stage equity investments. let's say you only had $1,000, right, Mark? Maybe you only had $1,000 back in 2004. You would have made $2.3 million. Who could use an extra 2.3 mil right about now? Anybody? Raise your hands. Not everybody. Armin's is like, nah, man, nah, Brian. Peter's like, nah, Brian, more money, more problems. I don't need it. Okay, that's fine. But I'm telling you, you could have had it, right? And what's the final conclusion? The public markets are for suckers. If you go buy a share of Apple or a share of Tesla, I'm telling you, with Wall Street selling it to you, they've taken the juice out of it. Now, you might get some return over time, but you sure as hell ain't going to get a 100x or a 500x or a 1000x market. No way. And by the way, it works the same in crypto. How many people here own crypto? Raise your hand. Come on. You guys look like you got some Bitcoin, some Ethereum, some stable coins. No, not for you yet, Peter. That's okay. We'll get you up the curve. This happens in crypto. It's called a pre-sale token. We're about to do one right now in the investment club. You buy basically the tokens at a low price before they ever go public. It's the same thing as what Peter Thiel did. How does it work? Does anybody know this coin? It's called Solana. Raise your hand if you heard of it. Come on, crypto. You guys know you guys have heard it. It's the 9th biggest coin out there. Well, guess what? They did a pre-sale token. When? Look at this circle. Back in April 5th of 2018, they sold these tokens for how much? Can everybody see how many pennies that is there? Can you see it? 4 pennies. Don't take my word for it. This is all on the blockchain. You can go look it up yourself. What did they do? They raised how much? Can you see that circle? 3.17 million. Again, it's small. They didn't raise a lot of money. They didn't need a lot of money. They were building. They sold 79.3 million tokens. What happened? What happened to the price of Solana? It went from 4 cents in 2018 to somewhere around 25, 30 bucks right now. So you would have made a 59,000% return on this. Did anybody here buy them at 4 cents? Anybody? Raise your hand. No? You probably bought them at 200 bucks, right? When Solana went to 200 is when you bought them because some article came out and FOMO'd you into it and got you excited. So you're probably down 90% on your money. But the people that bought it are up 59,000% return. The reason none of you saw that deal is because you have no deal flow, right? You didn't know someone like me back then. So you would have never even known this deal was happening. By the way, did anybody here even know they sold those things for 4 cents back in 18? Of course not. It's all buried. It's all buried. Again, the most valuable commodity I know of is information. That's what you need. And that's what deal flow is. So how do you create generational wealth? Folks, if you want it, you got to pull the trigger. That's what it's all about. You have to pull the trigger and invest in one of these deals. Otherwise, this is just going to be a cool presentation you'll tell your grandkids about one day when you're doing the AI's laundry.
Sleep.
We're just going to mute you real quick here. So one day when you're doing the AI's laundry, you can tell your kids that you saw this, or some of you will pull the trigger and maybe you're on the other side. So how do you do it? Well, these are some of the deals that we look at. This is some of the over 200 pitch decks that we've looked at. These are screenshots of a pitch deck. We have a CEO coming on every single week on a Zoom call, just like this, actually, and they pitch us their deals. These are top-level CEOs, and I put them through a Shark Tank experience. I grill them, I make them do a dance for us, and then at the end, the group does like this again, live or die, and we either chuck them out of the group or we give them a bunch of money. I mean, it's not that simple, but that's basically what we do. And we want to make sure the CEOs have good answers to hard questions and their position. So we take these deals and we stick them in our deal flow monitor. This is every single deal that we track. We track by the blockchain it's on. If it's on a blockchain, the name of the deal. Are they looking to raise equity or tokens? How much are they looking to raise? Is it 1 million, 2 million, 3 million? What's the valuation? 50 million, 100 million, or $1 billion? We constantly track all the deals here. And this is Orange Comet, the deal I showed you earlier. We were really excited to invest in them. This is Dave Broom, the CEO, and I put him in the leather chair a couple months ago. And they are working with some of the greatest artists out there, obviously William Shatner, Sir Anthony Hopkins, Scottie Pippen, the Chicago Bulls, the NFL, Walking Dead, Fast and Furious movie franchise. The list goes on and on and on. Dave is a Hollywood veteran, 25 years. He did the first reality show on Netflix with Sylvester Stallone. He just finished Jennifer Lopez's documentary film called Halftime. He created the reality show, The Biggest Loser, that went international. The guy's got energy for days. And he will not stop. I would play this video for you, but he'll get you so amped up you won't be able to sleep tonight. All right. We invest in winners, and that's why we're going to win. It's not just him, though. This is Swissborg, which is the #1 crypto wealth manager in Europe. They are literally building the bank of the future, and we are going to use this to launch a lot of our tokens and equity in the future. We're building an entire empire here inside London Mill Ventures. This is Vadim. They're building the metaverses of some of the biggest companies in the world. We're so impressed with these people. Eric Pullier was recently in my studio. I had one of the guys on his board, Peter Diamandis, on the show on Friday. And Peter's like, Brian, Vadim is the greatest company ever. Peter, if you go to his website, you know, he's floating in zero G next to Elon Musk, right? He's accepting awards with Bezos. He's hanging out with the biggest people in the world. Again, we are investing in the companies that are going to be the trillion-dollar tech companies in the future of the blockchain, AI, and the metaverse. We couldn't be more excited to be involved with these companies. This is open. Of course, the hottest new Web3 super app. It's what happens when Amazon meets WhatsApp. This is Jason Ma. By the way, this deal closed last year at a $100 million valuation, raising $28 million. But we got in on the deal after it closed, right? Because we have this great relationship with Animoca Brands. I called them up and said, look, can we get $500,000 of those shares? And we'll put Jason on the show. And they said, yes. This is unheard of, folks. And we're investing alongside the biggest names in the business, like Animoca, Warner Brothers Music, Avalanche, Blizzard's Fund, Galaxy Digital. Are you kidding me? I mean, folks, you'll never see deals like this ever as a retail investor, let alone have the option to invest in the deals that you want to invest in. That's what we give the people inside our investment club. Of course, there's $1 billion fund that we're investing in that's basically investing in all the infrastructure of the blockchain. And then, of course, there's the open AI killer. And folks, this is Zarka, okay? It's a supercharged, intelligent, neurosymbolic, large language model from Singularity Net at massive scale. You know the team, Dr. Ben Goertzel, Janet Adams, and some of the best AI scientists in the world. And guess what? They don't want to work for Microsoft. They don't want to work for Google. They all want to work for one person, Dr. Ben Goertzel, because he has the vision. And that's what I love about this company, right? They have their values aligned with our values. And look, it's the ChatGPT moment, but this is the problem. Look at the red circles. These deep neural nets have no ability to reason in complex world environments. They do not know when they're wrong. How many people have caught ChatGPT hallucinating on them? Raise your hand if you've seen that. I asked ChatGPT to tell me about the top London Real guest today, and he was like, oh, when you had Elon Musk on. I was like, Elon's not been on the show. It was making up guests. And I went back, I was at Google Bard. I was like, Elon hasn't been on the show. He's like, you're right, Brian, he hasn't been. But the time that you had, he made up some other guests on the show. I was like, what are you trying to do? Like pour salt in my wounds? Like, what are you doing, right? He was like, when you had Eckhart Tolle on. I was like, I haven't had Eckhart on. So sometimes they make stuff up. Do you really want an AI, you know, with massive power to be making stuff up, right? That's the kind of AI that kills people. Enter neurosymbolic AI. This is what Ben has been working on for decades, right? This is logical AI. They can meta reason. That's how they're going to create artificial general intelligence. Again, folks, these guys are playing chess. Altman's playing checkers, and it also escapes the AI monopoly. You see that circle at the bottom. That's what we want to get, right? Diverse, inclusive global user base. It's open source. It's decentralized. It's on the blockchain. This is all the things that we want, folks. This is exactly what we want. Proof of concept by the end of the year. They're rolling out product next year. They already have artificial general intelligence supremacy. Rough estimate on revenues of 55 billion. You put a conservative 100x multiple on that, you have a $5 trillion company. It's the biggest company in the world, folks. This is a winner-take-all scenario, right? $5 trillion company potentially, right? And they're nice people, and their values aligned with ours. This is our deal. This was custom made for us, right? I would say this is a coincidence, but like when you're doing the right thing, nothing's a coincidence, right, Petya? Right? I think the world brought us together with these people, right? Because we have the same intentions, the same energy, the same vibration. Maybe this is destiny. Don't get me too crazy here. So my question for you is this the next 1,000x return investment? Who thinks it could be? Anybody here? We do. So that's what we do here. That is exactly what we do. And so we've got the world's first media-powered investment firm. We've already cut checks to some of the greatest companies in the world. This is our quadruple threat. This is why we see the deals. Number one, production. I put the CEO in the leather chair. We create an amazing piece of media that basically pushes the company for the next 5 years. 2, we distribute it to 5 million people, potential customers. 3, I connect you with everybody in our space, from crypto billionaires to venture capitalists to Navy SEALs to Ironman triathletes to hip hop artists to mafia made men. If you need somebody's legs broken, we got you covered. And number 4 is we write you a big check so you can take that cash and actually get to work. So how do you learn to invest? You're probably asking yourself out right now. How do you learn? Well, you've got to surround yourself with the best people. And folks, I'm going to tell you something right now that you're not going to want to hear, but I have to tell you. I have to tell you. How many people agree with this statement? You're the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. Raise your hand. Come on, you know I'm right. Put those hands up. Am I right or am I right? It's an old Jim Rohn quote. It's true. And one of my mentors, Dan Pena, used to say, and who are you surrounding yourself with? Who do you hang out with? Losers. That's what he used to tell me. Now, look, I don't know who you hang out with, but how many people are here are hanging out with someone that's building $1 billion company? Raise your hand. Are you? Petya is. Of course, she's in the investment club. That's who she is. How many people are hanging out with people that are about to do, say, a TED Talk? How many people are hanging out with people about to do a high performance task, like something that you're like, oh my gosh, that's amazing, right? I don't see many hands coming up. So if you're not surrounding yourself with these people, how do you expect to be wealthy and successful? It's not going to happen with your peer group, because your current group, whenever you go to do something big, they're going to drag you back to their level. Raise your hands if you know what I'm talking about. Come on. Who's got family that are always trying to be like, oh, maybe you shouldn't go to those crazy master classes. You know, why are you trying to make millions of dollars? Why don't you take it easy? Have another drink, relax. Who gets told that in here on a regular basis? Yeah. Take it easy, relax, right? Yeah. That's because you make them uncomfortable, right? Because your potential success shows them that they're not doing it. And so this is our motto here in my personal life and my business life. That's why I took my daughter to Boston last year, because I knew she needed to be surrounded by the best. She was the smartest girl in her class here in London, and I knew she needed to be pushed. And she went to BU. At BU, she's hanging out with all these type A kids that are out in it to win it. And she struggled at first, but now she's making a comeback. And I'm so glad I did. I went to MIT for the same reasons. I was one of the smartest kids in San Diego in my high school. I got to MIT literally surrounded by the smartest kids in the world. I was one of the dumbest in my class. 4 years later, I'm beating them at their own game. I'm getting A's in exams. They're getting B's and C's because they brought my game up. Everybody feel me here? Does anyone ever have somebody bring your game up? It's painful at first, right? Because you don't like being around people that are always better than you. But what happens over time? They get better than you. I always make this joke. My senior year at MIT, I was in a fraternity house, right? With a bunch of smelly guys studying and drinking beer, right? The average income in that house is probably $1,000 a year. Does everyone know what I'm talking about? Anybody broke in college, right? 2 years later, I'm on Wall Street. I'm at the 33rd floor of Bankers Trust with 300 of the high performance traders, the highest performance traders in the world. These people are making millions and millions of dollars a year. What happened to my salary? I think 3 years after I started on Wall Street, I think I made $200,000 a year. Is that a coincidence, or is that my peer group? Raise your hand if you think it's the peer group. Of course, it's the peer group, folks. If you surround yourself with high performance people, you're going to become one of those people by definition. And that's what we do in this group. Meet potentially one of your new peer group. All right. This is Marianne Bartels. She's one of our founding members in the investment club. She's a 35-year Wall Street veteran, chief information officer, Merrill Lynch Bank of America. She's one of the smartest people I've ever met in finance. She knows more about stocks, bonds, yield curves, inflation than anybody I've ever met. She knows what the Federal Reserve in America is going to do before they even do it. For all I know, she tells them what to do. This is your new peer group, okay? She's on the Zoom calls. You can reach out to her at any time. She's on like CNBC on a regular basis, by the way. This is your new peer group. By the way, she's invested in Zarka. She's invested in Open. She's invested in Vadim, and she's invested in Orange Comet. She's one of the first people to write a check. Why? Because she's smart. She's one of 73 people that will be in your peer group. This is Andrew Haynes. He's our metaverse expert. He built this mansion in the sandbox. He understands metaverses and digital collectibles. He also goes to one of the highest and best executive training schools in Switzerland and hangs out with some of the best AI scientists as well. This is Dr. Encore. 16 months ago, he was in medicine. He joined our class and reinvented himself. Now he's basically a venture capital guy in the blockchain space. On a challenge from me, he started a YouTube channel. 365 days later, he had a massive YouTube channel. Petya has done the same thing here. Now he's a big influencer, hundreds of thousands of views. He turns down tokens that he gets offered to be an influencer. He got offered $100,000 in tokens a couple months back, and he turned it down, right? He's now a full-time employee of Leonardville Ventures. We hired him a couple weeks ago, right? These are your peers. This could be your story, or you can just finish this tonight and go home and go back to doing what you're doing. But if you don't change your peer group, folks, I hate to tell you, you have no chance of being successful. I don't care how many podcasts you listen to, how many YouTube videos you watch, until you surround yourself with experts, with greatness, it's just not going to happen to you, right? That's just the truth. How many people believe in this statement? Your net worth is your network. Raise your hand if you think that's true. No, not more hands up. Sometimes the subconscious is cruel. It doesn't want you to admit what's true. That's the truth. It's your network. You surround yourself with these people, you'll become wealthy. You keep hanging out with the same low energy people, or the same broke people, or the same people that you hang out with that watch the news, talk about people behind their back, constantly complain. Anybody have friends like this? Come on. Anybody have family members like this, right? Constantly telling you how they're broke. Yeah. And yet, what do they talk about all day long? Nothing important, right? I wonder why they're broke, because all they do is watch the news and complain and talk about other people all day. If you want to be around wealthy people, they don't do that. What do wealthy people do? First of all, we don't talk, we're taking action, we're pulling the trigger. When we do talk about things, we're talking about ideas and the future. That's what we do. This is one of my mottos, comes from Lao Tzu. If you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. You teach him how to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. I'm a big fan of teaching people how to fish, which is why I created the investment club. 2 years ago, we got the chance to invest in Cross the Ages, which is the hottest gaming company on blockchain right now. And look, I had studied finance at the MIT Sloan School of Management. I worked 15 years at the highest level of international finance for the biggest banks in the world. And I had never heard of any of this pre-sale token stuff. Quite frankly, it scared the bejesus out of me. And I thought, if I'm scared, how the heck is Mark here, or Casey, or Armands, or Peter? How are you ever going to understand this, Pamela? No chance. So I thought, we have to teach this. So we created the investment club, and this is what I created. We open up 10 spaces every quarter. It's 3 months of coursework, 6 modules. It's a 12-month program, but no one's ever left. So far, it's been a lifetime program, because why would I want someone to leave? If they're bringing fish in every day, why would I want them to leave? Every single week, we have a top CEO on the call pitching their company. We have a private Telegram group, private Discord group. You have access to all of our deal flow. And we give you a full year of our Kings of DeFi, our advanced crypto and blockchain program, for free, just to get you up to speed. The next call is on Thursday at 7:15 p.m. This is how we teach in over 20 countries, remotely, to some of the best minds in the world. And these are the modules. I do it in real time, so I'm constantly teaching on the fly to make sure we give you the most up-to-date information. I'm also constantly changing the colors of my wardrobe to keep you updated. You like any of those? What's your favorite there, Mary? Number 2? Come on, I like number 2. I got to bring that look back. So we do this constantly, all right? And this is the syllabus. Module 1 is, what is the blockchain AI metaverse pre-sale? More of what I taught you tonight, but we go deeper. Module 2 is, what is a SAFT or a safe? By the way, raise your hand if you know what a SAFT is. Can I see hands here? Petya knows. Nobody else knows. Robert knows. The fact that none of you have raised your hand is scandalous. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing because you have no financial education, because the banks don't want you to know this. Your schools never taught you about money, and that will keep you poor the rest of your life. Meanwhile, the rich are getting richer with SAFs and safes. Does everyone understand what I'm talking about? Raise your hand. I'm not trying to be harsh, but this is the damn truth. A SAFT is a simple agreement for future tokens. If you don't know what it is, how will you ever be able to make money in this space? You just won't. You just won't. So that's what we're doing here, and that's what we need to know. I'm going to teach you what a SAFT is, and a safe. That's how we invest in equity as well. And I'm going to show you how we use those tools to make a lot of money. It's a little complicated, but you'll get it in a couple weeks. Module 3 is Deal Flow Part 1. We do due diligence on these deals. I teach you about team, traction, technology, tokenomics, terms and conditions, the 5 T's of due diligence. Module Part 2, I show you how to get the deals, how to go to a conference, what to wear, what ticket to buy, what lounge to hang out in, what parties to hang in, how you exchange information with people, the whole thing. How many people have a business card here you could take to a conference with you? Raise your hand. You got a business card? Anybody here? Yeah, Armands, you have a business card? Well, I hate to say it, Grandpa, keep your business card at home, because at our conferences, nobody wants to see that old nasty piece of paper, right? We exchange information with QR codes on Telegram. Once you do that, you take a selfie with someone. You exchange the selfie. Within an hour, you got their pitch deck, and maybe even by that night, we've already given you feedback on the pitch deck. It might sound like a detail, but it's not, because this space moves at the speed of light. Okay? That's the way it moves, and we're going to teach you how to do that. Module 5 is how you nurture the deals. That's why I was in Texas. introducing people, and module 6 is how we get the cash out, right? How do we get the money out, and how do we put some of it back in? This is our Telegram group. This is our Discord group. And again, this is where we're at. We're oversubscribed. We are every single time because everyone is trying to get into this club, obviously. We have 5 confirmed so far. We have 2 on hold. There are 3 spaces left, but I think Martini has closed one of those. So I think there's only 2 spaces left. The investment is $50,000. By the way, I'm doubling this in the next course to $100,000 because 3 of our new members said I should double it. And I thought, you're right, we should. It's a significant investment. Yes, I understand, but it has an unlimited financial return. You understand this? You can use this knowledge for the next 20, 30 years, right? For unlimited financial gains. This is the greatest wealth creation event in human history. And our special investment opportunity in Zarka and Open is ending in days. All right. By the way, this was our special investment opportunity on the last class. This is a SAFT agreement, by the way. Don't let it intimidate you. It shouldn't. What happened on that deal? We made our members 466% return in 1 day. That's a 5x return in 1 day. If you put 10,000 in this deal, you would have paid for the course in 1 day, right? I made my investment club $300,000 that 1 day. And this wasn't even a big deal, folks. This is a deal we did because we were bored and there was nothing happening that week. All right. We have a track record of success in this group. And by the way, this is our first deal across the ages, which is crushing it right now. This is Sammy Schlagu, the CEO. This is the interview I did with him in the studio. They are selling things out in the App Store. They're dominating. They're selling out millions of dollars worth of NFTs. They got a future investment from Animoca Brands and Ubisoft. And we're expecting a 10x pop on their token this year, and then it's probably going to go higher. Again, folks, we have a track record of success in this club. And so my pledge to the members of my club is I'm going to create $10 billion for my members of my club over the next 10 years. And again, I'm going to tell you about it either way. So you can either be on the inside making the money, or you can be on the outside watching it happen. But we're going to do this, and just watch us do it. And this is Jens. He's one of our founding members. Jens was on one of these calls the other day, and he watched all your faces on the call. And he called me up later and he said, Brian, they don't get it. And I was like, what do you mean they don't get it? He's like, they don't get what they're missing here, Brian. And I said, it makes me angry. I'm like, Jens, it's okay. We got plenty of people for this course. We're going to have the members we need. We're making money. It's their loss, right? I mean, they've been given the instructions. They've been given the opportunity. And he said, no, Brian. He's like, they don't know what they're missing. And it bothers me. And I was like, all right, what do you want to do? He's like, I want to make them a video and they need to watch it. And I was like, all right. So Jens made this video for you.
Why should you join the investment club? And the next obvious question is, can I afford to join the investment club? My name is Jens Krautscheid, and I am an active investor in stocks and companies since age 14. And risking of stating the obvious, I'm German. Also, I am one of the founding members of the investment club. And I consider my decision to join the investment club as one of the best investment decisions I ever made and I ever will make. Why? We all had this pub talk, this talk at the dinner table where we complained about our hustle we have to do daily. We complained on the workload we have, and we try to top up each other who has more stress, who is more hustling. And then sooner or later someone says, well, if I would have been an early stage investor in PayPal, I would be so rich. Or if I would have been an early stage investor in Microsoft, I would be so rich. And this is nice. This is really nice. But let's be honest. If you would have had the chance back then, 1992, to invest in PayPal, would you have pulled the trigger? Would you have invested? Quite likely you wouldn't have, because you couldn't assess the situation. You couldn't value the situation enough. In the investment club, we get these offers on a daily basis. We get the next PayPals on our table. And then we have a team of 50 people, 60 people, of a growing community of people who will do these assessments. And they will say, do this, buy this, this is the way. And then we buy this. And the next question is, can you afford to join the investment club? And the question really should be, can you afford not to join the investment club? Times are getting tougher. AI is taking over. And in what company you want to invest? In which AI company do you want to invest? Do you want to invest in the ones who do the fridges? Or do you want to invest in an early stage Coca-Cola who uses the fridges? It's up to your decision. I tell you now, invest in the investment club and be part of our fabulous, wonderful group. My name is Jens Krautscheid, and I wish you the best decisions of them all.
We liking Jens? Come on, Jens has got great energy, right? Everyone in the group is that great. Look, they're competitive people, but when we win, we all win together. And yeah, Jens has amazing energy. And again, the whole group is just stacked full of people. Quite frankly, it's the best community we've ever created. And so look, final thoughts are, it only takes one. This is something Marianne Bartels said on the very first call. And I said, what do you mean, Marianne? And she said, Brian, I've been on Wall Street for 35 years. I know people that invested in Uber. I know people that invested in Google. She said, one deal changed their life forever, changed their children's lives, can even change their grandchildren's lives. So it only takes one. And my question for you is, do you have one? And if you don't, you better have your head examined. Final thoughts. Don't let 2023 pass you by. This is it. This is the last chance. Learn early stage investing now. You can use it your entire life. Liquid tokens and equity have limited gains. If you own Bitcoin, if you own Tesla, if you own Apple, you will not be making 1,000x on those. No chance. Even the hardcore Bitcoiner knows it's not going to 29 million anytime soon. It's just not. It's just not. It's a simple scale issue. You can learn from active investors, not somebody that talks about it, not some podcaster, active investors like us, putting money on the line every single day for just $50,000. That's incredible. It's a significant investment with an unlimited financial return. And thanks to Martini, who convinced me to do a payment plan the other day, you can start now for $10,000 a month for 5 months. The reason we did that is so people could get in on these deals within days and not have to put the entire thing up front. And we did it because, quite frankly, folks, we're not looking for the people with the most amount of money. I'm not looking for people with fancy degrees. I'm looking for people that have the energy and the vision that we have that can be our partners and our team for the next 10 years. That's what we're looking for. And again, you invest in the best deal flow in the world. And quite frankly, folks, what we've done is impressive, but we're just getting warmed up. This is going to get much, much, much bigger, what we're doing here. And we couldn't be more excited. And so final thought for you is the best investment you can make is really in yourself. Now you're looking at all these hot deals, and potentially we'll make 1,000x on Zarka, and we'll turn our $1,000 into $1 million, or our $10,000 into 10 million. And a lot of people are going to make a lot of money. But the truth is, you'll get an even bigger return if you invest in yourself. And if you don't, you're not going to change. You're going to have the same peer group, the same mentality, and you'll be on one of these things a year from now, and 2 years from now, and 10 years from now, and you'll never do anything. But if you invest in yourself, you'll take things to the next level. And if Warren knows it, then everybody knows it. And this is your chance, because that's what you're doing when you join the investment club. So I would just say, find a way. These are the contact details for Martini. She is our gatekeeper. You have to go through her to join the club. You have to have a call with her and convince her that you should join the club. You have to sell her on that. She is working 24/7 because we are inundated with people that want to join this club, and we say no to a lot of them. But this is a way you can contact her or book a call. I would say only book a call with her if you're serious about joining this class now, right? Don't waste your time. A few of us made that mistake at London Real, and we haven't made it again. So don't waste your time. And finally, what is your why, folks? They say with a big enough why, you can deal with any how. Has anyone ever heard that expression, right? So you might say, oh, I can't afford the investment club. Really? I would say your why isn't big enough. Because if you have a really important why, you'll ask yourself, how can I afford it? How can I make this happen? Because for me, they're worth it. I will find a way to make the future in a way that is not something that's dark and dystopian. And so once my why is strong enough, the how is actually easy. So I'd say tap into your why. How important is this for you? How much do you want to finally take advantage of this? How much do you really want to create that generational wealth? If you do, you'll find a way to make this happen. And if you don't, you'll never find a way to make this happen. You'll always find an excuse. And that's it, folks. I'd love to do some Q&A. Just want to say thank you all for being here tonight. Really enjoyed talking to you. So I hope you got something great out of that. While we do have Martini on the line, I just want to pass it over to her and just get her thoughts on how you can make contact with her and take things to the next level if you want to ask some questions. So I'll go over to you, Martini.
Awesome. Yes, yes. Well, hopefully everybody was able to take away some really good gems and really good notes. And thank you all for choosing to spend some time with us here. And yeah, like I said, hopefully everybody was able to take away some valuable things, but don't let it end here. Okay. So a couple of things that I took away from this call was that within 10 years, you know, we're going to be living in a world that we cannot even comprehend, which is a very huge deal. And the question that I want to ask everybody is, are you prepared for what's to come? It's just a simple question, but it can be complex once you start to think about it. Are you prepared? And we're living in strange and, you know, exciting and uncertain times, but like Mo said, you know, I'm not necessarily worried about the machines. It's more being worried about what people are going to do, you know, with the humans controlling them, what the machines are going to do with humans controlling them. And so with this innovation that's happening, we want to make sure that the future is being developed in the hands of the people who are going to do right by us and to do right by humanity moving forward. And that's what we're doing in the Investment Club. We are really investing in projects as well as companies that we truly think are going to make a positive difference in the world. So we definitely want you guys to join us on this journey. And even if you're new to AI, if you're new to investing, if you're new to all of this, that is okay. We walk you through every step of the way with the education, the mentorship, and that community that's going to support you. So don't be worried about all of that. The key is just to get in, get tapped into this community, and start making a difference for yourself and for your family in a positive way. So if you are looking into joining us in the Investment Club, I put some links inside of the chat. Go ahead and take a look at the Investment Club page first and take a look at everything that's in there and how we can best support you and everything that's involved in there. And while you're watching or taking a look at the page, go ahead and jot down a few notes. And if you have any additional questions, go ahead and book a call with me. The call will definitely run a lot smoother if you are prepared with your questions that I can definitely answer. And like Brian said, you know, you don't have to have $1 million to join. We're not looking for anything that's like really like huge, you know, and extensive with your resume. We are really wanting to connect with people and really support people who have positive energy and are definitely wanting to truly make a difference in the world through their investments. Okay, so I promise the call won't be scary at all. So the next thing is when you go ahead and book a call with me, if you don't see a time that's available, because I know that Brian's got us all spread out throughout the land, if you don't see a time that's available, please go ahead and contact me on Facebook. Just send me a private message and let me know who you are, where you're from, and what time is most convenient for you. And I will definitely do my best to accommodate. Like yesterday, I was traveling and having calls at the airports in between flights. And one, it helped me to pass the time, but two, it was great to be able to connect with you guys. So I really mean what I say. If you guys really don't see a time that's available, I still want to be able to connect with you because we need all hands on deck at this time. And I'm doing my part to make sure that that happens. So once again, go ahead and connect with me on Facebook. And then also there's always email, but Facebook is always the fastest to get a hold of me. So guys, don't let it end here. We want to see you on the inside. We want to connect with you. We want to support you on your journey. And most of all, we want to build a better future together. So all right there, we hope to see you on the inside, and back to you, Brian.
Excellent stuff. Give it up for Martini. All right. She's making everything happen in that investment club. She also is investing right alongside of us with Zarka and a lot of the other deals as well. And look, I just want to say thank you to everybody for coming out. Really appreciate that. I appreciate a bunch of the comments. People had questions about deal flow. And Peter was saying, how could a company be worth $250 million already? I mean, look, I went through the dot-com boom back in the year 2000. I was in New York City. I was the CFO of a startup there. And there was a lot of crazy things happening. Now, some of those things cooled down, but AI, it's got such a massive dislocation of wealth, creating numbers like 25 trillion. We've never seen it before. So that's why you're seeing these massive valuations, and you get the right team in the right place at the right time. It potentially is going to dominate entire industries. And so, you know, there's the quick and the dead at this point. You've got to move on these things when you see it. And I'll say one more final thing, just to something for you to think about. One of my mentors, a high performance coach that some of you know from the show, has got a castle in Scotland. He said this. He said, high performance people make decisions based on imperfect information. Does that make sense to everybody here? High performance people make decisions based on imperfect information. If you wait to research something to death, to run a spreadsheet on it, to check every little detail of a deal or an opportunity, guess what happened? You missed it. Somebody else pulled the trigger in front of you. And so high performance people have to make those decisions based on imperfect information. You see something, you check it, you have a feel for it, you involve yourself with the right people, with a track record, with the right community, and then ultimately you have to go with it. Because if you wait, you're going to miss the deal. And we know people out there that, oh, I could have invested in Uber. Has anyone you ever been around someone that said Uber was my idea? Yeah, these are the kind of people like that, right? Really? Really? So it's like you have to pull the trigger, and you're never going to be 100% sure, because if you were 100% sure, everybody else would have pulled the trigger too. And so that's why I'm constantly trying to look to that next deal. And I understand there will be an element of risk in everything. So what we do is we embrace the risk. We know that's where the upside is as well. So I leave you with that. And again, just want to say thank you to everybody. I hope we see you on the call on Thursday. I hope you get a call with Martini, and I guarantee it'll be one of the greatest decisions you've ever made. Just want to shout out to Petia, who's here on the group that joined us about 3 months ago, but she joined our Crypto and DeFi Academy over like a year and a half ago. And she went to our Kings of DeFi, and she's been involved in the investment club. And now she goes out to conferences and sources deals. She's invested in Zarka and Orange Comet and Vadim, and is going to be investing with this big digital asset ecosystem fund. And she's there with us, and she's learning and bringing deals in. And, you know, it's an amazing community, like to say the very least. So thank you, Petia. Great to see you here. And I look forward to seeing the rest of you inside the investment club. Have a wonderful evening. All right. Take care. Bye.